Every morning, millions of Americans turn on their TVs and see her there, calm, familiar, and unshakable. A meteorologist who built her career tracking hurricanes, blizzards, and tornadoes, storms she could predict from thousands of miles away. But the hardest storm in Janice Dean's life was never on any radar. It arrived quietly, without warning, just as her career was taking off. No satellite could track it. No model could predict it. It moved into her body and began taking things away, feeling in her legs, strength, certainty. And then came the message she was told to accept in silence. Keep it private. No one wants to see a sick person on TV. She didn't stay silent. But soon another storm followed. This time not medical, but political. A governor's order, a nursing home tragedy, and 2 funerals that left a family shattered. Questions were raised, but speaking out came with pressure most people in her position would avoid. She didn't. By 2025, after years of battling both illness and public controversy, her health worsened again. She stepped back from the spotlight, seeking treatment and even traveling to Rome in search of healing. And for the first time, she admitted what had long been hidden in plain sight. The fight was getting harder. Janice Dean is 55 years old. She has lived with multiple sclerosis, raised 2 sons, lost loved ones during a global crisis, and appeared on national television while carrying a life few could see behind her smile. This isn't just a story about weather. It's a story about a woman who learned to survive storms that no forecast could ever predict. She had the relapsing remitting form of multiple sclerosis, flare-ups followed by periods of remission. Weeks or months of relative stability could suddenly give way to symptoms returning without warning, making even ordinary mornings uncertain. She would later describe the quiet cruelty of it, waking up not knowing what version of her body she would get that day. But the hardest part wasn't the diagnosis itself, it was what she was told immediately after. Keep it private. Don't tell anyone. Don't make it visible. The reasoning was blunt. No one wants to see a sick person on TV. She was 35, newly diagnosed, frightened, and suddenly expected to carry something life-changing in silence while continuing to appear on screen as if nothing had changed. So she did, for a time. Not because she wasn't struggling, but because she understood how quickly visibility can be taken away. She worked through broadcasts, hurricane seasons, and early mornings while managing a condition the audience never saw. But silence was never permanent for her. 2 decades later, she spoke publicly about what she had been told and why she chose not to obey it. She made it clear she wasn't stepping back from life. She was stepping forward into advocacy for others living with the same illness. What viewers never saw were the infusion chairs, the exhaustion, or the mornings when her body simply didn't cooperate. What they did see was composure, clarity, and a broadcaster who made millions feel informed and reassured, even in the middle of chaos. Then came 2020. Not a personal storm this time, but a global one. COVID-19 moved through New York with brutal speed. Her husband's parents, Dee and Mickey Newman, were among the elderly caught in its path. Mickey, a former Air Force member and New York City firefighter, died first. Dee followed 2 weeks later. They were isolated in care facilities, and like many families at the time, there were no final goodbyes in person. The grief was immediate. And then came questions. A New York order signed in March 2020 required nursing homes to accept hospital patients, including those infected with COVID-19. In the months that followed, thousands of vulnerable residents were placed into those settings during a rapidly unfolding crisis. Janice Dean began speaking publicly, not as a political figure, but as someone who believed her family's story reflected a much larger failure. She described what she understood had happened to her in-laws and insisted the losses shouldn't be reduced to statistics. The response was swift. She was dismissed as just the weather girl, a label used to question her credibility rather than engage her claims. Attempts to testify before lawmakers were initially approved, then later rescinded. She was told her presence would make people uncomfortable, so she went on television instead. Her calls for accountability grew louder as the political climate became increasingly charged, while Governor Andrew Cuomo was being widely praised for his leadership and receiving national recognition. From her perspective, that public image clashed with the loss her family had endured. She kept speaking, refusing to be reduced to a label instead of a witness. In 2021, Internal reports later showed COVID-19 nursing home data had been withheld, with deaths revised to over 15,000. Cuomo resigned that same year amid investigations. For her, it was never about politics. It was about people, names, and loss. Vindication came later, but it brought no relief. By then, her own battle with multiple sclerosis was still ongoing, unaffected by headlines or accountability. While the world moved on, her body required daily negotiation just to function. Each day meant uncertainty, whether she could walk properly, whether fatigue would take over, whether she would get through the day at all. A kind of exhaustion no one sees on screen. She managed it for years with infusion treatments every 6 months. Control, not a cure. But over time, stress and illness accumulated. By November 2025, she stepped away from Fox News for health reasons. Before that, she traveled to Rome with her husband for spiritual renewal. But with multiple sclerosis, healing is never linear. By February 2026, she admitted the truth more openly. It was getting harder every day. 2 decades earlier, she had been told not to speak about her illness, told that no one wanted to see a sick person on television. Instead, she chose visibility, infusions, flare-ups, fatigue. None of it was hidden forever. And in doing so, she quietly challenged an idea many people living with chronic illness still face, that suffering must be invisible to be acceptable. Her story doesn't have a clean ending. It never did. It includes 2 funerals in 2020. It includes a hearing she was pushed away from. It includes being reduced to labels instead of being heard for what she was saying. It includes years of advocating while still trying to keep her own body steady. And it includes a simple truth she has returned to again and again. This is real, and it deserves to be seen. At 55, Janice Dean is still living between strength and uncertainty, still showing up when she can, still stepping back when she must, still speaking when it matters. Not because the storms stopped, but because she understands them better than most, both the ones in the sky and the ones inside the body that never appear on any forecast. And maybe that's why her story stays with people, not because she defeated the storm, but because she refused to disappear into it.